Okay, so in office hours, I showed this to a couple students, so I thought I'd show it to anybody who's interested. Once you've accepted your assignment on GitHub, you can copy it, copy the link, and you go to PyCharm, okay, and you paste this in. And this should have worked for you before. You can also use idle if you want. This is apparently the first time I've used PyCharm since I rebooted them. I did a lot of stuff to the machine. Anyway, got a new hard drive, all sorts of stuff. So I'm not surprised I forgot my password. Okay, so right now the file I'm interested in making sure is working is right here called run me. And I'm gonna run it, and apparently I have to kind of run it well. Yeah, we've seen this kind of problem before. Let me pause this for a second. Okay, I think it just changed its behavior. I think it's just gonna work. It just worked. Okay, so it worked because it says right here, DFA project 35 worked. That means that I'm actually using version 3.5 of Python. It tried version 3.4, 3.5, 3.6, 3.7, 3.8. One of those worked. Okay, so now I'm going to open my Python console, and in my instructions I tell you to do the following: import. So if you're doing this from idle, you don't need to type this in. Then if you're doing this from idle, you execute the file and then start typing in the other window that appears. But if you're in PyCharm, you'd say import from run me import star, and then you would do something like key my DFA, whatever you want, because, well, I didn't type it right. You need an underscore. Okay, so what this does is it tells you what your computer is supposed to do, what your code is supposed to do. So here is the key. You're running the key. I have given you inside here, you can't see it right here, but there's a whole bunch of precompiled code, and it's running the precompiled code. So you can't view it, but you can run it. And so the point is, your code will look different from mine, but your output will look the same as mine. And now what if we want to look at your project? So you're over here, you're running your project, and maybe I'll just put one correct answer. This is not what you want to write. This is only going to satisfy one case, that being the empty string. This is the answer for the empty string. So if you're in PyCharm, it automatically saves, and then you can say from DFA project import star, and then you can say my underscore DFA quote da 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 da, and it tells you what your machine does. But see, notice my machine and your machine behave differently, so that answer is wrong. But that's the process by which you can get feedback. Now, let's say I change this. Unfortunately, more than likely, you're not going to be able to just ask it again, because it's just going to still remember what the old code was doing. Even if you do an import again, it probably will say, no, I already imported that. So more than likely, it'll still keep the old code. So the way you get past that is you can say file close, project. It'll save it, but it won't save the compiled version. So then when you go back in here, then you can try it again. You can say, okay, now I'm ready to go back again. Actually, I can do this, and now it takes the new changes. By the way, I just hit my arrow key up to get my old commands back. So it remembered my old commands in my history, but it didn't remember the precompiled code. So I can say, what does this key say? All the stuff that I did before. Okay, so that's a good work process. So your goal perhaps your first goal should be to just think about whether that last value should be true or false. I just get the value true or false after I finish tracing through the DFA, but you could do it in the other order. You can say, well, this is a really simplistic DFA. Anytime this a string ends in 2 zeros or 2 ones, it turns out to be true, and otherwise it's false. So those are the only thing that can make it true is a string of length 2 or greater ending in the same 2 characters. So since you know that, you could just test for that and then return the true or false separately from calculating the path. So again, if you're having trouble calculating the path, at least we'll start with something that's a little easier and get part credit. But you're supposed to trace through the DFA I gave you, and let me just find that for you. Okay, so here's the DFA that I got from the Geeks for Geeks website, and you can see this whole assignment is in that repo. So you can see that when you download you'll download the instructions, and if you're lucky, you might even be able to view it through PyCharm. Sometimes it lets you. See, I could have just done that. Okay, so here's your DFA, and for example, when I started at state 0, I read a 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1. Okay, so I have to trace through every single step that I took through that DFA, and so it was, let me hear, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0. So I would have gone 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, or something like that. Okay, so I have to list out in turn each state I visit, and if I'm on a loop, I just keep visiting the same state again. Okay, so I guess that's all for now.